Hi guys, this is Hero. How's everyone doing today? So today I'm going over Venus's debilitated transit in the sign of Virgo. Okay, this transit occurs from August 25th to September 18th of 2024. Right now, why does Venus get debilitated in Virgo? Right, Virgo is what? It's a sign of overcalculation. It's Mercury's main sign, and Mercury is all about rational intelligence. Right. So you have the sign of overcalculation, and then you have Venus. Venus is all about enjoyment, right? So enjoyment with things, people, whatever, right? You put the sign of enjoyment in the sign, the planet of enjoyment in the sign of overcalculation and over rationalization. You will not be able to enjoy anything, right? This is why, for example, anybody in I think the STEM field, like engineering or like medical, especially with us Indians growing up, I've noticed they do not tend to have the most or the best relationships, right? Because they're always in their head and growing up, because that's just how our parents raised us. And it does not create a very fruitful layout for, you could say, enjoyment in general, right? But especially when it comes to relationships, right? And stuff like that. But like with people, okay? So you take Venus, right? So it gets debilitated in Virgo. So what does this mean for you? So your sense of enjoyment is overthinking, right? So you're not quite able to enjoy. Versus the opposite is like, you don't really need anything to enjoy, right? You're able to enjoy everything, which is kind of why Venus gets exalted in Pisces, right? No matter what you don't have, you're able to enjoy. Virgo is almost the opposite. You're always thinking, what do I need to enjoy more, kind of, okay? That's that. Now, moving forward, right? So we know Venus is in Virgo. I pretty much make this video like every year, okay? But it's always a little bit different every year, right? But the foundation you should know by now. So you take Venus, right? And then you add it with Ketu, okay? Venus is with Ketu this whole transit, okay? Now, Ketu's in Virgo. Ketu does not do quite that amazing in Virgo either, okay? Ketu's all about like spirituality and things like that. It actually does, for example, good in Pisces. Usually when a planet does good in one sign, it's not going to do that well in the opposite sign, okay? Which I've explained in my opposite signs video, right? So you take Ketu, right? It's all about spirituality and stuff. It loves detachment, right? And you put it in Virgo, past life karma, all this. It's not the best situation, right? In general, like you could constantly, in general, Ketu in Virgo, right? Let's just forget the transit for 2 seconds. Ketu in Virgo could mean that you're constantly overanalyzing your karmas, your spiritual progress, your things like that, right? You're not able to just fully just let go and like embrace it, right? And then certain things in regards to your karmas and things like that, you're also kind of hooked onto too much, okay? Or yeah, you can just say hooked onto too much, okay? Now, this video is on Venus's transit, right? So you take this Venus, it's in Virgo, it's not quite doing that hot here, right? It's already overanalyzing, and then you add this karmic monster Ketu embedded and infused with this Venus of enjoyment, right? What does this mean? Okay, this basically means when you try to enjoy, you are constantly overly persuaded, in a nutshell, of what could or could not bring you that further enjoyment that Venus is looking for, okay? I'll repeat, possibly a little bit better. You have Venus who's trying to enjoy, right? You're Venus, right? Because this transit video is on Venus. You add the Ketu in the mix, so Ketu's trying to fuse in its like karmic overwhelming power onto this Venus, right? So it's going to try to persuade it very strongly and say, hey, this is the stuff that's going to make you happy, or this is the stuff that's going to make you enjoy, right? Or this is the stuff that's not going to make you happy, or this is the stuff that's not going to make you enjoy. It could go either way, right? Ketu's kind of like that, okay? So in a nutshell, because there's two other layers here, that's kind of how Ketu comes in, right? And you might be like, oh, that's not really that big of a deal. It is, right? Because you're already a little bit frustrated, and then you add like a persuading party, and it's not that great, right? Especially when it's like a very like persuading party that kind of makes you very not think straight, like Ketu, right? Let me give you an example. If you are already frustrated about a job or relationship or something, and some third party comes in and tries to persuade you to join or form a relationship with them or their company or something like that, it's very, very, very easy to leave when you have the combination of the original frustration plus the additional illusionary persuading party that comes in, right? So that's that. However, another thing here is that in Venus's secondary sign, which is Taurus, there is a Jupiter there, okay? And this Jupiter also happens to aspect Venus and Ketu in Virgo, right? So Taurus has Jupiter, right? Which is Venus's sign. And then Venus is getting aspected by the Jupiter in Taurus, right? So they're both kind of affecting each other, right? So now you have this Venus, you have this Ketu affecting it. Now, how does the Jupiter come into play? Okay, so Jupiter is a benefic here, right? Which is great. However, you need to understand that Jupiter is not the world's biggest fan of the Taurus sign, right? Why? Taurus overall is an earth sign, right? Jupiter tends to like water and fire signs more, right? Jupiter is the guru, right? Taurus is literally the sign of material enjoyment, right? So in a nutshell, just like a 2-second nutshell, Jupiter in Taurus could kind of in general means like the guru is trying to enjoy like food and stuff like that, like material luxuries. It's trying to enjoy and consume, right? Now, Jupiter, it's not like it's debilitated, right? In Capricorn, right? But you can kind of see how this is not the world's best placement for the guru, right? It's not the world's worst placement, right? Like Capricorn or something like that, where it's like overworked or like it's like too rigid and stuff like that, right? Enjoyment is a part of life, but you can see how like your spiritual sense, always trying to enjoy, it can kind of hinder your spiritual progress, right? Okay, so now we discussed what Jupiter in Taurus means. Now, how do we add this to the Venus equation, which is what we're talking about? Okay, so let's just start real quick. We have this Venus frustrated in Virgo. You add this Ketu, right? The illusionary little party that's trying to convince it, hey, this is what can bring us enjoyment, and this is what cannot bring us enjoyment, right? Now, you have this Jupiter in Taurus, who's also influencing the whole thing and kind of also behind the scenes helping Venus also, right? Because it's in Venus's sign. So it's in Venus's sign and it's aspecting Venus's direct position, okay? So how we can kind of use this here, hopefully, is... So Jupiter, at the end of the day, it's only in one of Venus's signs, right? So you can kind of focus more on the sign of Venus that Jupiter is in. Now, this is not Venus's main sign, unfortunately, so it will be a little bit easier said than done. But in general, when it comes to enjoyment, you can kind of sway more towards the Taurus-y aspect of Venus versus the Libra aspect, right? When it comes to people or anything like that in general, probably, and like I said, to know exactly what's going to happen and if you're going to break up with your boyfriend or girlfriend or whatever, you need to look at your dashas and things like that. This one transit is not going to tell you anything. But in general, you could feel a little bit more frustrated with people and people that you're trying to or expecting to achieve some sort of fulfillment or enjoyment from. You could feel it overall, in general, amongst the masses, a little bit lower, right? And if you're running a Venus dasha or even like a Ketu dasha or something like that, you will feel it a little bit lower here, okay? So that's that. Now, So in general, like, don't use this time period as like to like go on like a second honeymoon with like your spouse or something like that, right? It's not gonna probably lead to the fruition or like plan any family reunion. So the whole thing is like, okay, how do we use this to our advantage, right? We know there's like this little complicated situation that we're aware of, right? Don't be planning any family reunions, right? And I mean, obviously this is gonna come up to your dashas, right, of what happens. But like, if you have a choice, right, and like there's like Venus that like strongly impacts you, or like, you know, your family member possibly like that you're not really getting along with or something like that. I think you guys get the idea. I'm just throwing out hypotheticals, but like when it comes to people especially, don't use this as a great bonding experience time, okay? That's the main thing here. Now, the second thing is, how do we use this Venus here, right? That's going on. So, the Taurus situation that has Jupiter in it. So we know that Jupiter is in Taurus, right? So it can kind of help guide it does not offset the Ketu, right? So it basically almost helps. See, the thing is, Jupiter is in Venus's sign, but Ketu is conjunct Venus. So they're both kind of, and Jupiter and Ketu, they both have similarities, and they both have not similarities, right? The similarity in a nutshell is basically Jupiter and Ketu are both trying to go towards spirituality. How they differ is that Ketu is doing it completely ungroundedly to an extent, and Jupiter is doing it groundedly, again, to an extent. Okay, but just in a nutshell, you can just take that. So you can use this, right, to hopefully, and this is where, you know, it always boils down to your awareness, right? In aspects of Taurus, I already said to stay clear of the Libra stuff, right? Okay. You have to see your own dashas and stuff. But with that stuff of Taurus, you need to see, is any material enjoyment possibly going to, is it grounded or is it ungrounded? Right? Because the Jupiter is there. So it could actually, something that you do, the Venus is going to kind of prevent you from enjoying it now regardless. But some stuff long-term could actually be, fruitful, right? But how grounded or ungrounded it is, you have to see. For example, I have a decently okay car, right? It's like a Camaro. It's like a V8. It's stick shift, okay? I was thinking about touching up the exhaust and making it a little bit louder, just a little bit louder, right? Because it's a nice car. However, after some pondering, I realized that it could possibly be ungrounded, at least the method that I wanted to take. Maybe I can take a much more grounded method, but that's another discussion, right? Or possibly, like, that's just one example, right? Or like the food you're eating, right? Like, let's just say with certain meal prep that you have, you want to possibly, like let's just say for my meal prep, right? I'm thinking I actually added a little bit more like sauce and carbs to my meal prep, okay? However, because I got a new sauce, right? I tried this new sauce and this new carb thing that I usually don't try. But however, I realized this is great, but I can tone it back a little bit, right? So like this is also kind of an example of like kind of being really aware of the material desires that are kind of, I know this transit hasn't started yet, but I'm saying like when it starts, just being really aware of just living in moderation, right? Or the choices you take are in regards to, material stuff. How grounded are they really? Okay. So I think that's it for this video. I'm coming up on 15 minutes. If you have any questions or comments, as usual, you can let me know. And until next time, I'll talk to you guys later. Thank you all very, very much for watching.